Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to go ahead and start where we left off, finish up some of those windshield wiper issues, and then we're going to move on to the rear diffuser. Also, please stay tuned all the way to the end. We have a cost challenge. So the biggest, most requested item that I get is, what does everything cost? So at the end, we're going to introduce the cost challenge. So stay tuned. Okay, I've decided to essentially modify the mounting there. So right now, like if the windshield's here, 90 degrees is here, the pivot point is kind of a little bit like this. So I'm gonna modify the bracket to kind of have it be more 90 degrees. So I'll do that, and I think that'll fix our gap issue here. And then I think we'll be done. Windshield wiper complete. All right, I used my phone, the bubble level, to kind of measure the difference between the windshield and that bracket. The angle is about 17 degrees, so took probably way too much time, but kind of fabricated this one that will kind of kick it out. I guess it'll go this way, but kick it back so it'll be 90 degrees to the windshield. So I need to disassemble, weld, and reassemble. All right, a little update. So got this wedge kind of welded on, and I think the angles and everything look right. When I went back to reassemble though, this bolt is now a little bit long because this is all moved up a little bit. So this one now runs into here. And getting these guys on and off, I've lost a couple nuts down into the pit of despair. So spend so much time trying to fish things out, but I think we're back on target, so we'll go ahead and try and bolt things up and see if we got it. All right, so with everything adjusted, it's down more, so we don't have gap anymore between the blade and the windshield. So I think it looks really good. Again, before it kind of looked like it was just sticking up, so I think this looks more natural, more down. I'm gonna go ahead and mount the camera and kind of do a simulated, I'll spray some water on the windshield and make sure it can clear it. I think that looks really good. All right, so I think I've got everything figured out, reattached. This is now, I think, more in the position I want, but I'm always a little nervous that I've not done something correct. So, Jack, go ahead and turn it. Okay, turn it off. All right, so we had a little bit of an issue. Basically this rod here was running into the spring. So tilting everything like this kind of brought that rod a little bit closer there. So another thing I got to figure out. Okay, so I lengthened that, so I think we're clear of the spring now. I'm going to turn it on. Hopefully we're good. Apparently I got the blinker on. So it looked okay. I'm still getting a little bit of flexing. I'm going to make one adjustment, see if I can't get it running smooth. All right, so the bracket flexing back and forth, I got my motor arm length a little wrong. So I remade this one, and we'll try it again. All right, just when I thought I was done, so I shortened the motor arm because we were hitting some limits over here, meaning the wiper linkage was hitting into this center bar, and then also on the way back it was kind of reaching its limit there, meaning it wanted to actually pull that whole assembly because there wasn't enough length in the bar. So I remade the wiper arm motor, but now that changed the angle that it sweeps, and so when it's all the way over there, it's kind of at I'll cut a weak point, meaning the motor wants to push the arm, but it's actually pushing it pretty close to the axis. So it's not able to generate a lot of torque. So when I turn it on, it'll wipe over, but when it wants to bring back, it just doesn't have enough torque. So I'll show you here. So it kind of just gets stuck over there. And as you can see, I mean, that's a huge arc. I mean, it's going all the way from that side all the way to this side. And kind of as I was telling you, so when it's coming this way, you see it's almost pointing straight at that axis, so it doesn't give it a lot of torque. So I will have to probably remake the wiper arm as well. All right, I think we got it working. I think we got all the arms about right. This is the range of motion we get. It's raining. Oh dear. All right, so I think we had it. We had the really good range of motion, but when we kind of squirted water on there, it acted as a lubricant and kind of just went. And so instead of just kind of having the motor kind of push and this kind of be scraping or dragging and then being pulled back, this one, it kind of had enough momentum that kind of just swung really far and kind of moved this out of position. So I'm thinking about potentially just adding a, call it like a screw, just screw something down as a stop so it can't over travel, because I really don't think I want to change the arm length, because that's about as good as I can get. Okay, so this time I think we got it. Again, pretty good range of motion when it's somewhat dry, kind of from tip to tip, kind of from edge of the windshield to edge of the windshield. And then if I get it wet, I added a stop down there, so hopefully it stops. So there we go. I think we got it working. That windshield wiper kicked my butt. So a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. Still probably not perfect, but I think this will work for what I need it to do. And time to move on to something else. So let's look at some panels. All right, a couple last panels we're looking at. This one goes under the motor. So it's kind of the underneath panel in the back. This one is the rear wing spoiler. So I've never looked at that one. We have done some things with this one. And then the last one, this is again, another piece. So this one, if you had an internal combustion engine, this is where your exhaust would go. So again, in the back. So I need to see how these will all fit. All right, having a little trouble fitting this back panel. So it's supposed to kind of be like this, but at that angle. And so we've got, so these features here are hitting that. So we'll probably have to just trim these off. Yeah, it's like not even close. Okay, so I maybe had another thought. So these tabs, I'm wondering if they're actually supposed to go on, like rather than on the outside, I wonder if they're supposed to go on the inside. That would be cool, except then there's really no way to assemble it. So meaning if I put it on before the shell gets lowered down, this part won't be able to be lowered over the motor. I guess unless I cut it, I could cut it short. I don't know. I'll have to do some thinking before I do some cutting. So I got a piece of cardboard and stuck it up next to the frame and then kind of traced where those two edges come off of the rear clamshell. So I traced them onto a piece of cardboard. So the cardboard, so again, here's that angle that comes out. So again, it's got the void between that line and that line. The problem I have is when I line this up, so like if this is now parallel, so it's gonna go against the back frame there, you can see it's just way too wide. And the other thing is like the angles are like not very close to matching. So I think what I'm gonna have to do, so I could carve up the rear clamshell, or I could just kind of cut this one to fit. I'm leaning towards just cutting this one to fit. But it's just too wide. So there's that line there. So if I kind of line that one up with that corner, here it's like, you know, it's like 3 or 4 inches too wide. It's not just a little bit. All right, I've got it roughly in place here. It's by design, it's got like this huge gap kind of all the way around. I thought it was probably most important to line up kind of this body line here. And so again, this is all kind of smooth and pick up this body line. But it's got just a large gap all the way around. So I'll have to see how best to secure it. The other thing is I kind of was just whittling away to make sure I got not too big of a gap, but I think I might just want to cut that clean off just so it has a gap all the way around the same size. But it does kind of we'll call it like a little diffuser. It's got some things kind of going on here. And then I've got my bottom panel right down there. And it will essentially go from that, so from that to back to my other panel. So let me mock that up here and show you what it looks like. All right, so here's one of the things I'm trying to figure out. So again, I'll call it the angle of this. I want it to kind of match the rest of the body. So I want that angle. So it's kind of, like I said, I feel like it's about right. I kind of put some tape over the joint, just kind of hold it in place. I don't even want to call it a problem, but what I'm looking at, I'll take another car here. So this is the panel, and I've got quite a bit of gap here. So my thought is I wanted to either fasten it to the subframe here or here, but that's just too big a gap. So the other panel goes from essentially this is my battery box. This is the edge of this is the edge, like it's got some thick steel here, and then there's kind of nothing. So I made the back frame and this battery box. So I'm now trying to fit a panel that was supposed to kind of go from here back, and I don't really have any mounting points. So I'll make some mounting points. I'll probably just fasten it here to the subframe somewhere and then join it back to here. So I'll just kind of mock it up the best I can and see how we can fasten it. All right, I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this, but okay, front is down there. See all those scratches? That's from my ramp. So here is kind of the back wheel, and basically that steel there is kind of where my original underside kind of ended. So this one's kind of extending quite a bit onto the other side, and beyond that I've got a battery box that goes here further. So it also overlaps here quite a bit, so I can kind of, so anyways, I've got a lot of overlap here. So I'll just have to see how much I need to cut out. This is very awkward. Okay, I figure there's probably not gonna be a real good way to film this because I'm doing it one-handed. But so that's where that one comes back, and you see there's just that gap. So on this side, it's got a little bit of overlap. So I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of got 3 or 4 inches extra. And so I'm trying to decide if I'll just rivet or do rib nuts into the frame or cut it some way different. But over here, I'll just find some places in the subframe and then fasten all these together. All right, so I've got my panel just kind of set on my lift right there. This is my battery box, and it is like almost exactly the same width. So what I'm gonna do is I will put some rib nuts, probably do 1 on either side and maybe 3 or so here, maybe even more, maybe 4. And that's where I will secure kind of the front part. I will need to essentially trim the front part. I'm not sure how much it overhangs, but I'll want to trim it just kind of flush with that. And then I'll put kind of some of that sealant adhesive, blend it kind of right there. And then I'll see how far it goes back, and I'll pick some points here. I might need some little standoffs to get it to the right height, but I'll just kind of tap straight into the frame. Okay, we'll take you under to show you the panel. So here's the new panel. I kind of outlined where the battery box was. So I'm gonna have kind of 4 there, and I got 3 here. And back here, I will essentially, I'll probably have to do some shape setting or cutting, one of the two, maybe a little bit of both. But basically, these 2 panels will need to be joined. So just do some screws there, or rib nuts. And then I've got to also just secure this to the subframe. And again, I think we got a little bit of space, so probably an inch or so, just spacer that I'll use there. But that's kind of how it's shaping out. All right, that's what it looks like in place. So this back panel sits there. This other panel that I put in the front sits here. So gonna get those 2 together, and then you can also see, I guess you can kind of see the gap we have there on the frame. So we'll make some spacers and tap the frame and get everything together. All right, so I've moved on to the next line. So that's where it will mount to the subframe. So I got kind of 4 holes drilled across there, and there's about an inch, maybe an 1.5 inch gap between here and the subframe. So I'll just make some little standoffs and get that fastened tight. Now this back here, there's another element of the subframe back here that we'll want to tie into, but I'll have to probably take this one off. This one needs to be shape set quite a bit more to kind of come up. Either that or we cut it off. So we'll take a look at that. I took the panel off, so these were kind of where the holes were that I tapped, and now I've got these starts for the, again, for the other holes that we're mounting to the subframe. So I'll go ahead and drill and tap those. Good. All right, I got this panel on, kind of the first part of the, I guess I'll call it the diffuser. So I got this right here to the subframe as well as back here. So I did take the shell off. I'm gonna have to put it back on to kind of put the other, I guess I'll call it diffuser piece on. It's got a bolt to here as well. And then I've got to see about shape setting, because it had quite a bit of gap and it almost was like curved a little bit. And so I think what I'll do is I'll probably just drill some holes and kind of start the threads, you know, so leave them loose and then kind of tighten a little bit, heat, tighten, heat, see if I can't get it matching better. All right, we've got the rear diffuser in place again. What we're gonna do, so I've kind of marked it up, so kind of where it's gonna sit all the way across. And so I'm gonna take this panel down so I can kind of drill the holes that match right there. So that bolt will kind of go through both panels. And we'll use that to kind of shape set it. And then I've also, under here, like it's got like an inch or so standoff. So I made some standoffs here that I can bolt to the subframe, and then this will cinch right up against these standoffs. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, as I mentioned, took the panel off the car, flipped it over, and I drew some lines to know where to line things up, and then just kind of marked each individual hole. So I'll drill some holes, see if we can't put everything back up on the car. One other thing on this one, before I put it up, I'm gonna kind of sand it, clean it, and then put a layer of that rubberized undercoating on it. All right, here's the next day. Put a couple coats on. So we'll let it dry up and then put it on the car. Just looking at the rear diffuser again, going under the car. So got it mounted finally. So I need to get some longer bolts for here. So I put the spacer brackets in those locations, but my screws are just not quite long enough. So I need to get some longer bolts. I went back and forth about putting this one on top or this one on top. I landed with this one on top because I thought, if air or other things are coming on or going by fast, I don't want it to kind of catch and pull it down. So it also made it easier because if you remember, it kind of had this big gap. So this way I'm just able to kind of tighten it down, not have to do any shape setting. So anyway, I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna now focus on this back side, kind of mounting it to the shell. All right, here we are at the rear of the car. So this is the rear diffuser. I need to bolt it up. My thought is 1 or 2 on the top, and then maybe 1 or 2 on the sides. So the only other thing is I just need to make sure it's kind of exactly how I want. So right now it's a little closer to this side than it is to that side. So I'll have to loosen the bolts, maybe make the holes just a little bit bigger, shift it, and yeah, then I'll kind of get it all set and figure out how I want to mount to the sides and top. It may mean I need to get like the shell on and off, and it's a lot of work to do all that. All right, so fastening inside, basically I'm thinking that I would do kind of 1 over there, 1 in the middle, and 1 kind of on this side. My thought is I'll just do probably some screws, and on this side where I've got the gap, I'll probably just end up using something like a door seal, just some thick rubber around to kind of seal it all up. So I figure as long as I make sure those screws are kind of behind, so it gives me access, I think that'll work. All right, so right now I've got it held in place, 3 points, 3 screws, and then on the bottom we've got, I think, 4 screws. So it's very much secure. Like I said, I'm gonna probably need to get some call it like door seal or something. Anyways, some really thick rubber to go around. I just don't love the gap, or I can try and make it fit a little better with some fiberglass, but that's kind of what it looks like. So I think the pump on my lift just gave out. All right, well that's gonna do it for this week. With the pump going out on the lift, it makes it a lot more challenging, especially where we're trying to work under the car. So that leads us into our cost challenge. So what this is I would like for everybody to guess what they think the cost of this project is. The closest guess will win a prize. The prize is a t-shirt. So to enter, all you have to do is put your guess in the comments below. Before next week, I will freeze, look at all the comments, and choose the winner. The winner will be revealed at next week's episode. That will be the cost episode. So good luck, have fun, guess high because that'll make me feel good, and see you next week.